Nigeria's central bank has continued to issue OMO bills to mop up liquidity in Nigeria's financial system. And meanwhile, the Naira has remained relatively stable in the last few weeks. Joining me to wrap up activity in Nigeria's fixed income and FX markets is Kingsley Okereke, fixed income dealer at Diamond Bank. Kingsley, thank you very much for joining us. So let's start first of all by inspecting those OMO auctions. We've seen that become very frequent recently, and that just suggests that there's so much liquidity out there for the central bank to mop up. But just talk us through how the dynamics are changing in terms of demand. Of course, investors in these OMO bills can also invest in regular treasury bills. Talk us through how that is changing, if at all.
Well, good day to you, Wale. Really, because of the level of liquidity we've been having, CBN has been trying to mop up liquidity as aggressively as they can through OMO issuances. So there have been a lot of preference on the OMO issuances, which they have been issuing. And because there's a big disparity between the yield levels at that level, OMO issuances are usually been pegged about 12%. We had OMO also today, about 50 billion was offered, of which the stop rate was about 11.95 and 12% on the two tenures that were offered. So in that regard, we've always seen most of the demands has always been on the OMO auctions. So players take their demands there to better their yield levels on their portfolios and come back to sell a bit of them in the market, on the OTC market. So you don't see, there have not been too much activity on the market in that respect. So that's really where the demand has been centered around. And so with a bit of skepticism here and there and the level of liquidity we have going forward, we expect this phenomenon to also be reoccurring.
Right. Another phenomenon that investors need to pay attention to is the repayment of AMCON bills later on this month, and I think AMCON has clarified the situation. And in fact, the MPC also made the point that those bills will be paid, those AMCON bonds will be repaid using treasury bills just to reduce the impact on liquidity. But if we look further ahead, since these bills will be liquid instruments, do you get the sense that we will still have to face the impact of this liquidity that could come in to the AMCON bonds later on as investors begin to discount these bills?
Yeah, at some point they will have to look at that, but they might just decide, we don't know what on the mind of AMCON and CBN, but basically they will have to decide at some point how they intend to effectively manage this liquidity. They're definitely going to be issuing treasury bills, and they might rather center it about maybe short tenor to mid tenor bills, but basically the natural phenomena is that it's going to be treasury bills. So definitely CBN is looking at that, and they are working at modalities to be able to attack that when they get to that bridge to cross it.
All right, and let's talk a bit about the stability of the Naira recently, currently trading at 158.15. Are you surprised at how stable the Naira has been given the liquidity? And we know that there has been a link between excessive liquidity and Naira weakness in the past, but that doesn't seem to be manifesting right now.
Well, it doesn't seem to be manifesting because we are coming to the end of the year, activities have been winding down, so naturally you won't see much demand in that respect, So basically we've also been seeing selling interest existing from oil majors. We also had some today and we've had some last week. So that has also helped to keep the Naira stable. Interbank, the official window with the stop rate there was 15573. Okay, and for today, the Naira also closed on the interbank at 158.51. So, 0.15, sorry. So basically, you've not been seeing much change. Even within the day, we also saw it also appreciate to 157 levels. So until much later before, a bit of demand came in and it picked up slightly. So we don't really see much. Even going down to the end of the year, we see the Naira remaining stable due to these factors. All
right, so it's strong now, but going into next year, I want to get your thoughts about the risk of Naira weakness. A lot of people talking about oil production possibly being a challenge next year. The oil price may fall as we continue to see a little more supply of oil globally. So your thoughts about the potential for the Naira to remain stable in 2014?
Well, CBN has always said that their major priority is price stability. So definitely, I'm sure they are looking at all those modalities, though they won't do too much to try to shock the system or to try to, but they will anticipate they have definitely anticipated all this. Definitely the Naira will weaken next year, but they will manage the situation as they see them fit. But currently, I think Nigeria is on a stable path, and I think we'll maintain that stable path going into 2014.
All right, Kinky Dokereke, thank you for joining us on CNBC.